I'm Carla Sosenko. I am an executive editor at Entertainment Weekly. I am so excited that you're here and that I'm here, but I'm most excited about this next person being here. I would like you to join me in welcoming Jessica Biel to the stage.
Hello.
Hello. So everybody here just watched the first episode of The Sinner. And as a huge fan of The Sinner, I'm pretty sure that they're all gonna run home and binge the rest of it as soon as they get home to figure out what the hell is going on. So my first question for you is, what attracted you to this role, and how did it come to be that you were playing Cora Tonetti?
So initially, I read the book, which was given to me by some of our great partners at UCP. My small company, my production company, my partner is Michelle Purple, and we had an overhead deal with UCP. It ended up ending just because it was done, and then they brought us this book. So ironically, we weren't even with them at the time. But I read the book, and I think number one, initially, I was continually shocked by the turns of this character and of this story. And if you guys haven't seen the show, it really twists in all these directions that I literally did not expect. And I feel like I'm never shocked anymore about anything, and this really shocked me.
Yeah.
So not just the storylines, but I mean, the character herself. She's an unreliable narrator. She's somebody that you can't trust, which I thought sounded like an incredibly interesting challenge from an acting standpoint. How do we create this person who is inherently untrustworthy, but you have to make her likable and relatable?
Right. Yep.
And those two elements, I think, really started my kind of love affair with this story. And then after we read the book, we just said, I have to do this. We have to do this. Yeah. I have to do this role. I have to get this made. If somebody doesn't buy this, I'm quitting, because then I don't know what anybody wants anymore. Like, I don't understand this business anymore.
Yeah.
And luckily we sold it. We hired a writer, our writer-creator, Derek Simons.
Yeah.
He wrote the pilot for us, and then we went around and we basically pitched it everywhere. And USA was, honestly, I thought, the most unlikely home.
Why?
Well, I mean, I just didn't have a lot of experience with USA.
Okay.
The new modern USA before Robot. You know, their motto was blue sky television.
Right.
You know, it just wasn't something that I watched.
Yeah.
And I thought, there's no way these people are going to buy this. This is like too crazy. This material is insane, and it's sexual, and it's psychologically bizarre
and uncomfortable
and violent.
Yep.
And weird. They're not going to buy this, and of course,
I'm sure they're happy that they are, because it was the #1 news show on cable.
Thank you.
This year.
So it was.
They're probably
honestly,
pretty happy.
They were the best partners anybody could ever ask for. They really gave us creative freedom and just kind of let us do our thing, which was amazing. And yes, the response to the show, the viewership has been, I can't even fathom still how great it was that it was so well received, and people really loved it.
People loved it, and I feel like people got very invested in trying to figure it out. You know, when you went on social media, it was like, I think, without giving too much away for people that haven't seen the whole series yet, trying to figure out the mystery, and it became kind of obsessive, addicted television.
Right.
I think
it
for
did.
a lot of
it really
us.
did. And the fun thing for us, coming from the producerial team, and of course everyone on the set who knew what was happening, was to watch that social stuff and to see if anyone could guess the twists and turns. And the big mystery at the end, which if you do watch, you'll see, nobody guessed.
Really? Not one person?
Not one person on social, like across the board, from any country, from any place in this country, guessed it.
Which
it was
is
really
amazing.
shocking.
And unheard of in this day and age.
Yeah, I know. I think honestly it had a lot to do with our creator who just spent hours upon hours threading the themes and the storylines between the past and the present, which really start to play a huge part in the show, in the series, as season 1 continues on.
What is it like? I'm always curious for an actor what it's like to adapt something from a book, because once you've read the book, there are certain images in your head and certain things you're picturing. What is that like as an artist to take on a role that you've read and a woman you've been picturing as you're reading, and then bring that to the screen?
Well, it's always a little weird, right? Because maybe you're picturing something, but I don't think you're ever picturing yourself. Right? I'm not reading it thinking of me. But it's such a great skeleton, blueprint. Everything you need is there. We don't have to create too much. We did create some. We more than anything, we built out some of the surrounding characters. Actually, our main character that we built out, Bill Pullman's character, he was, in the book, is a little straightforward and kind of, and in my opinion, not as flushed out, not as interesting as the Cora character. Cora character was really well fleshed out. To the point that we probably reined her in a little bit, because she's almost very unlikable. But when you're reading, it's different. It's a different medium. It's a different experience. When you're reading a book, you can get behind an unlikable character, I think. Sometimes when you're watching it, you're like, I don't even care. It's a weird difference there. But so we used the book a lot. And I think that's the real gift of having a source material. As weird as it is, and sometimes how you do have to separate your vision of what you had when you were reading to what is actually, who you're casting and how it's all actually getting put on film.
What was it like to balance the roles of executive producer and star of the show? What is that experience like?
That was hard. That was really hard. Luckily, the team of producers that I had, including my partner, Michelle, they really took the brunt of it when I was on set working, which was a lot of the time. But it was just double duty, It was when I wasn't working, I was on set making sure everything else was, going well. And more than anything, I'm more of the creative producer. I'm really not good with budgets and things like that. That's not my strong suit, and I know that about myself. My partner's good at those kinds of things. So I was in the ears of the writers. I was with the director. We were talking about performance, discussing how the young girls that play Cora and play,
amazing.
Some of the other members of the cast. We would work with them. I would work with them. So it was a little double duty, and more than anything, it was a combination of really, really hard and exhausting, and completely creatively fulfilling.
What was it like? So I interviewed Derek Simons right after the season wrapped, and first of all, I was just like, could you just make some more episodes immediately, because I'm in serious withdrawal. But I was, asking him about a season 2, and he was like, everybody's asking me that question, and I really don't know an answer yet. He said, but the one thing I do know is that whether we end up doing an anthology or we pick up with one of the characters that's on it, Cora Tenetti's storyline is wrapped. Her mystery has been solved. And so what is that like as an actor to go into, an event television series and have a beginning, middle, and end?
Well, it's fulfilling, I think, from a creative standpoint and from an audience standpoint. What I liked about what we did is we're not dangling a carrot, leaving you hanging for another half of a year, annoyed. With not knowing what happened. I think that was really smart that we did that, because it just feels good to go, okay, great, now I know, because we're going to answer everything. Everything. And it's as a viewer as well, and a binger, I want you to give me enough, but not too much to keep me going. To finish the season. I guess from a creative standpoint, it's really nice because I can see the whole arc.
Yeah.
You know, I know here and I know it's going to be here. Now we have to like thread it out throughout and put the pieces together. But it's helpful to know where you start and where you end, as opposed to the writer's not having a full idea, and maybe they'll, you know, give you an idea a little bit, but they're not sure until the second season and all that kind of stuff. That's hard, I think, because a lot of this particular performance was working back and setting up these moments that if you go back, you're like, oh, that's why that happened there, and that's why they reacted like that there. And so you're kind of putting these pieces together. So for something complicated psychologically like this, I think it was helpful, important, and it made it all a little easier to map the season out. And that being said, I say that with a grain of salt because there was nothing easy about mapping this season out.
Well, so that's actually another question that I have, because without spoiling anything, there's a lot that's really I imagine was very difficult to film in this season, both emotionally, you know, there's a lot of kind of emotional rawness and a lot of intimacy and a lot of just stuff that I think as an actor must be scary. And when I talked to Derek Simons, he said that you from the very beginning were like, I want to go there. And what did, I guess it's a two-part question, which is what does going there mean for you, and why is that so important to you as an actor?
Right. Well, this kind of a thing, this kind of a character, I think is the moment that an actor waits for, right? At least for me. I saw this and I thought, oh, wow, this is an opportunity to, like, really going for it means like stripping down everything that we kind of, as actors, sometimes rely on, you know, and what we're constantly dealing with. What do you look like? Do you look right for the part? Are you pretty enough? Are you not pretty enough? Is, you know, all this kind of surface stuff that we constantly deal with. What about the wardrobe? What about the thing that we can really fall back on? There was nothing to fall back on, and that is really what I mean by going for it. Raw, truthful emotion, you know, in these scenes that you're referring to, like the spontaneity of them, to be able to just sit in the moment of what's happening for the scene and for that character. For example, this woman did this crazy violent act, and now she faces the reality of, you know, maybe never seeing her son again, you know, maybe never being out in the world again, maybe being locked up forever. So having the courage to just feel what that could actually really feel like. And for whatever reason, this project just touched me that way. And I almost like couldn't stop crying. You know, a lot of days on set, I'd just be like, I'm trying, I'm sorry. It's just like pouring out of me. I'm not totally sure why. But I just connected with this person, maybe because I have a young son, and that reality is so scary. And that's what I mean. That's what he meant by like really going for it. Like, this is not about looking nice. This is not about, you know, being glamorous or having anything to hold on to. This is just like, you know, splaying your guts out for everybody to see, all of the flaws, all of the confusion, the pain, the trauma, and really exposing some real, true human experiences and things that we all carry, you know, differently, of course, but that we all have within us, and that in society we're not really allowed to talk about. Or we're not really, you know, this is not that comfortable to just share, you know, that we've been through trauma and we're not over it, and we're maybe never going to be over it, you know?
And the thing about all the characters on the show is that really nobody's purely one thing or another. Nobody's purely good or purely bad. Everybody's flawed. Everybody's human.
Right. So even the title, The Sinner, you know, yes, technically Cora is obviously this one very serious sinner, I guess, but that everyone has their own, every character has their part in, you know, creating this person and how she became to be, who she is currently in the present. and that we're all, I guess in a sense, we have ourselves to blame for some of the things that happen to us, and also we don't.
Right.
So this, kind of duplicity, this, not duplicity, but just like, we're so complicated. We are good and bad and evil and wonderful, and that's kind of what the show is touching on a little bit of, these very human issues and ideas and realities.
Yeah. Is there a particular scene that stands out in your mind that was either your absolute favorite to film, or conversely kind of the most difficult, painful, like raw scene that you never want to do again?
Yeah. Right. The interrogation scenes were really hard. Like the one that you just saw in the pilot. That was, they're isolated. They were isolating. We were just in one room for a long time, and the thing I had to keep doing, which any actor would have to do, is get to that same emotional, chaos and turmoil and just inner hysteria every time, over and over and over, back to the same level. That is super hard. Those were just the days that I feared, that I would wake up in the morning and go, what if I don't have it? What if it doesn't strike me today? What if I just can't muster it up from my body? What am I gonna do? What are we gonna do? Because these scenes, to feel for this woman, you have to see not just fear and not just remorse, but like true confusion. And that's what we have to work with a lot these first few episodes with her. It's just confusion of, I don't know why I've done this thing.
Right.
And I think if we laid the foundation of someone who is really not stable, then we can grab the audience and you can go along with her journey, instead of someone who's disassociative or kind of cold. I mean, she goes there too. We kind of tap into these disassociative moments and these cold moments, but the base of who she is someone who doesn't know.
Yeah.
And that's really scary. If you can't even trust yourself or your own memories or your own gut instinct. Right. Like she just doesn't, she can't trust herself. And so being emotional, being vulnerable, being raw in those scenes was just going to form if we caught your attention and if we grab you and if you come along with us on this journey or not. So they were, in my mind, they were like these big moments that I had to get perfect and I had to be there and I had to be emotional. And you guys know, sometimes just like, I don't feel it. And if you don't feel it, the worst thing you can do is force it. There was actually one scene, which I think is in episode 4 or 5, which it won't ruin anything. It's like another kind of interrogation scene with Biel. And for whatever reason, it wasn't this like outpouring of emotion the way that I anticipated it, the way that I had planned it, which is a good reminder to not plan that stuff. Right. Because you just don't know how you're going to feel that day, that moment. And maybe the better choice is not to cry. Right. And I didn't cry. And maybe you'll be able to find it and see it and go, oh, that's the one.
I know what you're talking about.
You may know what I'm talking about. But, it worked because it sort of turned her again to this another twist of her personality of, oh, this woman could be crazy. Yes. Because now she was like almost blank.
That's kind of the scene that you're talking about. And I'm sorry to be so enigmatic, but
it's annoying to be so vague.
We're being annoying, but you are gonna know, and some of you have probably seen it. But I think the thing that is interesting about that scene is that that's the moment where I thought, I don't know if she knows and she's pretending not to know, or she doesn't know and I don't know. Like, what is happening? And so that's, I think I understand why you weren't having an emotional outpouring, because I imagine it was more of just like a shock and like a feeling of I'm trying to do what you're telling me to do, but I don't know how to do it.
Right. And in that scene as well, without giving away too much, basically without giving away anything.
We're the worst.
What the character is doing is telling a story that's not necessarily 100% true. So as an actor, I'm looking at it going, okay, to tell this story, I need to be very believable and I need to like be outpouring this emotion. But it didn't go that way.
Right.
So I'm telling this story that's not 100% true necessarily, and it's working for in our favor because it's weird. The
Yes.
tone is weird, and you're confused. And this is what we did through the whole shoot. I would stop and I would go to our director, maybe Antonio Campos, who did our first 3, or Derek, and I'd say, okay, do I know? Do I not know? Do I remember right now or am I not remembering? And we would walk we'd have this funny dialogue literally every day of, okay, you don't actually remember now. Okay, I don't actually, so I'm not lying. Okay, you're not lying. Okay, next scene. Am I lying now? Yes, you are. Okay. So it was like this really challenging dance we played and like walking this fine line of even ourselves trying to understand and remember what we remember or not remember.
Yeah.
It was just a huge mind.
Did you have
Fuck.
stuff just like mapped out somewhere? Like I almost imagine a flow chart like that I would need to keep it all straight.
You know, maybe I should have done that.
No,
I didn't have a flow chart.
You didn't need to do that. You didn't, no. So this was like the role you were waiting for. I want to back up to the very beginning and ask, when did you figure out that you wanted to be an actor? When did you know that this was the thing that you needed to do?
Honestly think I was really young. I was like so young that I don't even know if I made I made a conscious decision.
Okay.
I was always singing and dancing and acting around my house, always a part of, like regional theater, doing little things, summer theater. I went to, when I was like 9, 10, and 11, went to Perry Mansfield Performing Arts Camp in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. That's just what I did because it was my interest. But I don't remember a moment, like a clear moment of this is what I'm going to do. It just always kind of was for me, I guess.
Yeah.
And it started very young. I was just really young, always, kind of putting on plays and performances for my parents, dragging my little brother, making him become involved. I was that kind of kid.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't remember it.
It's just always been there.
It's kind of just always been there.
Would you want to do musical theater again?
Yeah. I would love to do musical theater again.
Okay.
I mean, I don't sing in public really, but which is just kind of scary.
Actually,
not very often, at least. But I'd love to do that. That would be really fun.
Well, one of the questions that we got is, loved your recording of Mad About the Boy. Why don't you sing more?
Well, thank you for that, Peter. Thank you. Why don't I sing more? Because I'm married to like a really good singer. It's like the worst.
Have we heard of him?
No, we don't know.
Okay.
He's an up-and-comer. I don't know. It just hasn't happened for me in that way. I'm always kind of working on some sort of, producing some sort of something that has music that I can kind of cross it into like doing either a show or a film or something on stage. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I don't think I would just be up singing with a band somewhere.
Right.
It's not really my thing.
Do Broadway.
Well, that's different. That's different. That'd be amazing. I'd love to do that at some point.
Do you remember the role that got you your SAG card?
God, I don't know. What are the rules again with the SAG card? Like, what do you have to do? 3 SAG waivers or a speaking part. What was that? A speaking line, right. I definitely did a couple commercials, but I don't remember if I had any speaking lines in those. I was really little.
Yeah.
But I think I probably had to be SAG to work on Seventh Heaven.
Right.
Right, that would have probably had, I would have had to have have had it before then.
Yeah.
I must have been a commercial or something. I did a Pringles commercial. I did a hotel, some kind of hotel commercial.
Okay.
I did some modeling jobs, but that's different. I don't know.
But that's awesome.
My
that
mom
you've had it
might
so
know.
long. Okay. Let's get
She
your mom on
probably
the
knows.
phone. Can we call Jessica's mom? Do you remember kind of the first role that you had where you were just like, if not, I've made it, because I feel like most actors don't really have that moment where you're like, I've made it, and you just feel like you're going to be secure and safe for the rest of your life. Yeah. I think any artist, I didn't mean that in a negative. I think all of us,
nobody.
writers,
I don't think anyone ever feels that way. I had a
painters.
conversation with Meryl Streep, and she was like, "Oh, what am I? I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm not working." I was like,
what?
I just had to walk away. I was like, it was really nice meeting you, Meryl.
Oh my God. What is the first role then where you were like, yeah, like this can be my job. I'm gonna do this. Was it Seventh Heaven, or was it before that? Was it Uli's Gold?
I think Seventh Heaven felt like a big deal at the time in my young life.
I think it was a big deal.
It was like, whoa, this is
always.
Now my family is moving here for real, and I'm working here for real. That really felt like a big moment. But I was so young that you're so young, you're just kind of like, I'm doing something so cool. You don't really have you don't understand how hard it is to be a working actor. Yeah. You have no concept of it when you're 14, 15. You're like, I'm working as an actor. It's like, why isn't everybody doing this? You have no idea how hard it is to do it. So I don't know if I felt that way. I just think I felt really excited, and I had gone through a long audition process for that, and it was really fun and really cool. I feel like after I was on that show for a while, and I started to become a little kind of disillusioned by it, and I was just getting a little tired of it, and I wanted to do something different. And I went to college for a little bit, and then I came back. And when I got Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and that sort of rebooted my career a little bit. I feel like that was one of the moments in my career where it changed for me, and I got some other opportunities. Yeah. Maybe I had a feeling like, oh, phew, maybe I can still work in this business and not only be thought of as, just a television kid on a show. Yeah. I can do other things, and I'm getting an opportunity to do other things. I think maybe that was a moment that felt a little bit more like that.
Okay. Was that a fear? So being so, associated with this TV show that meant so much to so many people and was on for a decade, which is, crazy. It's crazy long in terms of TV. Is that something that you were consciously kind of either worried about, either being typecast, or something that you purposely tried to find roles that were different? How did that impact you in terms of the decisions that you made?
Right. Well, some of you may be too young to remember. I don't know how old you are, but you look really young. That TV and film used to be really separate.
Yes.
Really separate. And you couldn't cross over. It wasn't really what anybody did. And it was sort of like you were here or you were here. And I felt that way very much when I was on that show. Okay. But genuinely more than that was just an interest, a creative interest to do something different. I think as actors, we want to be chameleons, and that's what we do. And directors and producers, people forget that we are supposed to change and do something else and look one way and then look another way. That's inherently what we do. Yeah. And that's what I wanted to do, is I just wanted to do something completely different. Yeah. I didn't want to have anything to do with anything, with good moral values. I wanted to do the crazy, slasher movie. That sounded like fun and hard and different. And I think any creative person, any actor would go, duh, yeah, of course. But, you're dealing with people who are, financial people and business people, and they see you as one thing, and they continue to see you that way. And it's hard, I think, all the time, actors, at least in my opinion, my experience, you're always stuck in the box that you were just in.
Yeah.
With no fault of your own. You know, you're just doing what you're doing and trying to then do something else. That just seems obvious to me, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way. That's why you want to be an actor. You don't want to do the same thing over and over all the time.
What's the next thing that, you know, continuing on this path of trying to do lots of different stuff, what's the next dream thing that you would love to do?
That's a really good question. I would love to do an arc on like Curb Your Enthusiasm or something. You know, it's like something completely fun and funny, or I don't know, some kind of comedy.
Yeah.
Maybe something that has to do with music, some kind of musical somehow, some way.
Yeah.
I mean, these are just ideas, you know.
They're good
But
ideas.
it's really, I mean, as I think it is for everybody, it's just what project strikes you. You know, what are you moved by? What inspires you? And it could be another drama. It could be another, I don't know, psychological thing. But I just find that as humans, we just want to do different stuff. You know, it's hard to do the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
It really starts to, I become numb to it sometimes.
In terms of when you're picking your projects, in terms of what you look for in a director or other actors to work with, you know, what is it that you're looking for? And are there any specific people that you know, in your experience have been kind of amazing partners in that way for you?
Yeah. I think in a director, I'm looking for somebody who really knows what they want. Even if you do a film and the outcome is, you know, maybe subpar, or you're like, well, it didn't really go so well, which happens all the time. And I think so much, I look at my slate and so many movies, I'm like, oh.
Like what?
You're going to get me in trouble. All I mean is, you know, it's just, you really feel like that they should have been better and you had no control.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're putting yourself out there and you have no interest in, well, not interest, you just have no ability to be part of the editing or no ability to be part of the music or the whatever. Yeah. So someone who knows what they want, someone who knows how to move you from one scene to the next, to someone who can speak your language and doesn't just leave you to your own devices. Like, I know some directors, their styles are like, well, I've hired you, and I've heard this a lot. I hired you, so I trust you. I'm like, please don't do that. Please don't trust me like that. You should not do that. I need your guidance, which is why I'm coming to you. You know, I want a guide. I want someone who's going to help me navigate the story and the arc and everything.
Yeah.
That's what I would try to find in a director. Obviously, someone who's had some experience. Sometimes, you know, I've worked with first-timers, too, that have been amazing, and also times that have been really hard.
Yeah.
And didn't really... Okay, for example, Powder Blue. Not so good. Had a different thought that was going to be a little different and come out in a different way.
What was kind of the juxtaposition between what you imagined it would be and what kind of was troubling about how it ended up?
I just thought it would be great, and it wasn't.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's straightforward.
You know?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you like what exactly specifically. It was choppy. It didn't move the way it should. It didn't flow. It didn't move people. It didn't move me. You know?
Yeah.
That's a good example of like, you know, which we've all felt a million times over. And I guess with other actors and other, I guess producers, it's just I want a security, you know. I want to know that you know what you're doing. I want to feel like you're going to be a generous partner, a generous scene partner, and you're not going to try to pull some shady shit on me. You know, like, I'm here trying to make you better, and I hope you want to make me better too.
Yeah.
But you know, you don't know when you don't know somebody. You're just like leaping into the fray with people you don't know, and they don't know you, and you know, you kind of all have to
trust each other.
And it's tough.
Yeah. Can you think back to kind of the early days of auditioning and...
What do you mean early?
What? Okay.
It never ends, you guys. You will audition until you fall over dead.
Really? You're still auditioning?
Oh, yeah. 100% all the time. For the stuff I really want.
Yeah.
I don't get that stuff. I have to fight tooth and nail for the stuff that I really love and really want. And most of the times, it doesn't go my way.
What's one that did? What's something that you fought for where you were like, I'm going to get this role, and you had to audition your ass off? And
The Illusionist. I fought for that. I got that. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. You know, that was like a great success for me. You know, great moment in my life. And probably one of my most proud projects.
Yeah.
With, you know, great partners and a great director, and it was a beautiful film.
Yeah.
So like touching, romantic. For me as a viewer, able to like step back and look at it objectively was, and I loved it.
Yeah, and critically was, you know, had a wonderful
It was
reception.
great.
Yeah.
So that was one of the good ones.
Can you think of any, you don't have to name names, any particularly poor audition or a scary audition story?
Well, even like for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I literally had to like scream and cry and freak out in front of Michael Bay, who was just like, you know, like looking at his phone, staring at me. You know, and I was just like, like just going crazy. And like, who gives an audition scene like that? It's so unfair, so awful.
You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I walked out of there humiliated, like, oh. So bad, you know, it's so embarrassing. It's like, our job is the hardest thing ever. Like, people don't understand how hard it is, how much work and effort it is to be emoting and doing all the stuff that they ask you to do, which is so hard in a room with a camera and like somebody just reading a terrible off-camera line.
Yeah.
That was a hard and scary audition.
Yeah.
Another one, oh man, this one I really kicked myself for. I got to audition for Frozen. To play Elsa, actually. Yeah. So it didn't go so well. I was completely off key. It was awful. It was just that one of those days. I was just, I had plugged up ears and I couldn't really hear myself. And I was like, oh, fuck. And I just was literally, and the worst part was too, is Kristen Bell is kind of a friend, and she called me, she emailed me, she said, have a great audition, let's do this together, it's gonna be so much fun. I was like, yes, you got it. And I had to email her back. I was like, that was probably the worst audition of my life. I won't be seeing you in the ADR stage on this one.
All right.
And then I went on to make $1 billion.
Yes,
so,
well, all right.
There was that.
Whatever. So we're out of time, unfortunately. So one parting question, which is, what words of advice or encouragement would you give to a room full of actors?
I mean, I don't even feel like I should be a person giving advice to anybody, because I'm literally like just still figuring it out, you know, step by step. But I guess I would just say, you know, you got to keep working, whether it's in class or it's, you know, in theater production or whatever it is. The more experience, the more different types of experience you have, I think it only puts tools in your tool belt. And the comfort level of being up in front of people and being okay to be really raw and to be able to grab that emotion when it needs to be there and not force it if it doesn't come. And, you know, the experience of all that kind of stuff, I think is something that I've found in my career has been helpful. And I'm not 100% at it either. You know, I'm still working all that stuff out, and I still have terrible auditions, and I still, you know, look back on things that I messed up or whatever it is. But I would say that number one is get experience, no matter what it is, and you know, have no ego about anything. If you have to go in there and scream your head off and like claw at the walls, do it with fervor and intent and truth. Find the truth in everything that you have to do, and like throw your ego away if it's possible. And it is hard to do. Yeah. I guess.
All right.
That's all I've got.
Well, thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you.
You guys so much for being here. Go home and binge The Sinner.
Yes, please do.